adjourned. I'm going to move directly into our meeting for the Omaha Council Bluffs Metropolitan Area Planning Agency. This is the Board of Directors meeting for September 25. I will state that this meeting of the MAPA Board of Directors will be conducted in compliance with Nebraska statutes of the Open Meeting Act. For reference, the Open Meeting Act is posted on the wall of the boardroom. Moving right into roll call again, Liz, please.
Supervisor Scott Bell.
Here.
Mayor John Ewing. Commissioner Roger Garcia. Mayor Rusty Hike.
Councilwoman Kathy Welch in for Mayor Rusty Hike.
Mayor Doug Kindig.
Here.
Commissioner David Klug.
Here.
Councilmember Don Rowe. Mayor Matt Walsh. And Mayor Angie Lindquist.
Thank you. Agenda item B, can I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second, no.
Is there any questions or discussion? Liz?
Bell.
Here. Aye.
Bloomingdale.
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Kindig.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the board minutes from the August 28th meeting, please?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any further questions or discussion? Liz?
Bell.
Aye.
Bloomingdale. Welch.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Kindig.
Yes. Agenda item D is reports. We'll start with Mike.
Mayor, before we do that, could you, I don't know how long this meeting's gonna last, not have to read it no later than 3. So if everybody is assured that it's gonna be over by then, that's fine, but otherwise I would ask us to take things out of order and do the action items first.
I can promise you we'll be done by.
It's going to be.
So Patrick,
Patrick.
the consent agenda is all one item.
But I don't know how long this guy over here.
Oh, he's.
I'll keep it brief.
Whoa.
Wait.
Whoa.
I get paid by the inch. I'm like a newspaper, you know? I'm just gotta work on it here.
It won't last that long. I promise. A motion of a hard stop at 2:45.
Christina, can you click into the presentation?
Let's roll in it, and I used to say, never mind.
Nice presentation.
Hey, thank you.
Pat, they may not know who Rosanna Dana is. So.
If you guys don't know, but you don't.
I don't.
But you better, and you better.
I do.
I'm an old soul, but maybe not that old. I don't know that one. A couple, I'll do that after the meeting.
None of them.
Yeah, that's right.
Google it.
A couple of items just over the last month. It's actually been quite a busy month for our team. One project I wanted to draw your attention to is the North Downtown bicycle pedestrian bridge, kind of that connection from the riverfront in downtown Omaha to North Downtown right by Charles Schwab Stadium. This is a project that's been a federal project, a priority of MAPA's for, I mean, I started here over 12 years ago, and one of my first meetings was on this project. It's been about 12 or 13 years, maybe even 14 years since they started that project. And so we had the ribbon cutting celebrated with folks from City of Omaha, City of Council Bluffs. It was really a great event. And you know, MAPA's total investment in this project over that period was about $5 to $6 million in total, in addition to some other federal funds that came through. So a great day to have that key connection in our bike and ped network done, and great to see the support of MAPA's regional funds making an impact. MAPA was received an award, and this is really kudos to Grant Anderson for his work alongside the Latino Economic Development Council. It's a group that we partnered with on some EDA funded technical assistance over the last year. And really it's on the heels of all of the ARPA funding and the partnerships that community-based organizations and nonprofits have been at the forefront of, and how they're really kind of working alongside so many of our cities and county partners and trying to help them navigate that a little bit and understanding what role the community-based organizations play, what role that an organization like MAPA can play to making those connections tighter, and really just trying to build that alignment. And so they recognized us at their gala earlier this month as their partner of the year, which is just, I think, great commendation, one, to the team, especially Grant and his work there. And really just kind of a good capstone on about, 18 months of work alongside them. MAPA hosted here in this room an emerging leaders cohort from the National Association of Development Organizations. So this is one of our national groups. NATO is mostly focused on rural economic development and transportation and kind of small metros, some of those like 50,000 population in total. But they are a very active group alongside of organizations like MAPA as economic development districts, kind of that hat we wear with the U.S. Department of Economic Development Administration. Department of Commerce and the Economic Development Administration. So this group was from that Denver region, that map that you see there on your map. It was one leader per state, kind of folks who are either new executive directors in organizations like MAPA or are, deputies kind of on their way up, kind of seeking that next career opportunity. We just had a great discussion about, all the work that we do, some of the innovative things we try to do. There was a lot of discussion about the data and mapping that MAPA does. The day prior to them being with us, they were actually with SWPCO in Southwest Iowa, talking about some of the work they do in housing and economic development. And so it was a great opportunity to really put together by NATO to celebrate some of the things that are happening throughout Southwest Iowa and Eastern Nebraska, and how MAPA and SWPCO work together on a number of initiatives too. So it's really great to have that group here as well. A couple members of our team, including myself, went to Providence last week, which feels like a year ago already, but we were in Providence, Rhode Island for the AMPO conference. AMPO is another one of our national associations on the transportation side of things. I was on a panel talking about the trail work that MAPA has done and kind of bringing partners closer together, focused a lot on Pottawatomie County and kind of the trail work there, and the fits and starts and the partnership at the local level and what we're trying to do to resource that work going forward. But it was a great opportunity. We had Brian Schmid from Bi-State Regional Council, who's on the other side of the state, talking about their work, and we were able to talk a little bit about the partnership with locals in the state on all of that. So really great opportunity there. And then MAPA in the news, there's been a lot of news coverage, honestly, over the last month. But one thing on our roadway safety was comments on our long-range transportation plan. We had coverage of Minden and our support of the disaster recovery there and the housing project that we're supporting there. The Economic Development Summit that Laura's going to talk to received a lot of news coverage from around the region and in the various newspapers. And then he's not here today, but I did want to give a special call out to MAPA Board Vice Chair, Mayor Matt Walsh, who was actually accepted into the League of Cities Hall of Fame in Iowa. And so really, I think, 18 years on city council, 12 years as mayor, just a long history of public service and local government. And so he's not here today to hear it, but it is timely. And so I wanted to at least let you all know as his peers and counterparts here on the MAPA board that he received that recognition, which I think is very, very cool. One thing we're doing, if you've been around MAPA, you know that we do these learning site visits. These are leadership exchanges where we take a group of partners from MAPA region and we go visit another metro to learn really from what they're doing and kind of build some relationships across geographic boundaries, but also kind of learn about some of the priorities we might have as leaders here within our own region. And so we're doing it a little bit differently this year. And Laura put together a letter of interest to where if you're interested in going, or you have somebody on your team or your organization that might be interested in traveling with us, they can just answer a few key questions. And then we're going to be able to kind of pick and choose from all those folks that have expressed interest and try to put together a good group. We're planning on traveling to Detroit kind of in March or April of next year. And so great opportunity to learn about all the things they're doing with trails and economic development. If you haven't been there in the last several years, that metro is changing so rapidly. It's kind of incredible. But it's a great opportunity. We've got a good partner, peer organization in SEMCOG, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, that's helping us put this together. But Laura and Liz have been doing a lot of the groundwork to kind of lay some of what that's going to look like. If you have any questions, let me know. You can scan that link or visit that link as well. Scan the QR code. And then finally, October 8th is our upcoming Council of Officials meeting. This is our annual dinner. We're going to be up at the Northern Lights venue in Fort Calhoun. And we'll have Ken Moriano from the Scott Data Center. It's kind of this nonprofit that's working a lot in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and really taking a very unique approach to it. And he's going to be talking a little bit about what he sees in the landscape for public officials and other leaders of organizations, what they should be thinking about, questions they should be asking. And so it's going to be really, I think, quite tailored to the audience we'll have there. So if you are interested, please join us. I think it'll be a good event, and we'll be back at Northern Lights where we haven't been in a few years, which is a nice little venue up there in Fort Calhoun. And with that, I'm done. So Patrick, that was 4 minutes. So
I just stopped and stopped watching.
Okay, thank you.
I started again. Next person.
Well, I'm gonna talk
I
for
wonder if
about
you have
an hour and a half. Dr. Buzzard,
I don't know. I don't either. I'm trying. I'm fine.
Kendra, come on. Hold.
All right, and we do have a report on our Collaborative Futures Economic Development Summit from Laura.
yes, great. So that we had this event, we held it Tuesday, September 9th. So that also feels like it was 20 years ago, and it was really just a couple weeks ago. We were really pleased. We're gonna cap attendance at 200. We got 180 registered, and most of them showed up at some point during the day. So that was very exciting. We had a keynote presentation by Dr. Delgines. We'll have a slide here about that, as well as a lunchtime mayor's panel with 5 local leaders, which was great. We also held 6 breakout sessions with a total of 23 panelists and 6 moderators. So we really got a ton of people in the room having great conversations. We had a ton of great feedback from all of that. But the goals were really to be building some regional connections and then also focus on some of the priority areas for our partners. So obviously MAPA partnered with the Greater Omaha Chamber and their Economic Development Partnership, as well as the State of Nebraska's Economic Development Administration, 6 Regions, 1 Nebraska effort initiative. So we all partnered to kind of tailor the topics and the presentations, the panelists to the needs and goals of each of those partners. But we're also really excited to kind of reinvigorate our partnership with the Chamber. We've had some really great successes with them in the past, and this is kind of just reinvigorating that relationship, and we're excited to move forward and do some more work with them. Here's a quick look at the agenda, kind of some of the stuff I already chatted about. If you're super interested, that QR code still has the agenda on it. But we had Dr. Del Gines, our Chief Innovation Officer at the International Economic Development Council, really great presentation from him, just kind of on broad themes about the evolution of economic development. We love this picture. We've been seeing it in the news. We see it everywhere. We think it's a really strong visual representation of what we think of as Heartland 2050. For us, all of these leaders from different communities and different counties across our area were all felt very unified, talking about how their work was aligned. I would specifically say that Mayor Black talked a lot about, it used to be a little bit more competitive between cities. They still want to win, but now, if they're not the winner this time, they're pleased that the region is still a winner. So if they're getting it versus Bellevue, they're just feeling less competition and more alignment and cooperation. So I just thought that was great. I feel that has come out of the 10 years of Heartland 2050 and the things we've been talking about. So this was a great moment for us, especially to have some of the new leaders on the stage there. And then we also were very intentional about providing some networking opportunities. I was still very surprised to see so many people introducing themselves to each other, people who had not met, and that is a big focus of what our Heartland 2050 events has been about, is really just making and creating those relationships and giving people opportunities to work together. So we did some facilitated networking opportunities throughout the summit, as well as did some mentoring leader survey responses to kind of capture some information from attendees. Just a few pictures from the event, but I don't know, Mike, if you had any other.
No, I think it was a great opportunity. Obviously, the 6 regions, 1 Nebraska was the focus of Governor Pillen here in kind of dividing up the state into these 6 regions around the community colleges. And I think, a lot of that sought to recreate what we have within the Omaha metro region, which is the Economic Development Partnership and the work that all of you do at the county level, through ROSARPI or through Advanced Southwest Iowa or Gateway Development Corporation. And so I think, we started maybe with like a little bit of a lead, but it was a good opportunity to kind of take a step back from that real formal process that they'd been going through at the state level and really think about what's unique about this region. What are some of the challenges and assets? And those panels were just really fantastic. We had leaders from across education and industry. And so it was a really exciting day. The mayor's panel was really exciting as well. Heath did a great job moderating that. So I think it was a big success. So.
Very good. Thank you. Liz, did we have anyone that had called in on public comments? I don't see anyone in the audience, but this would be the time. No. Okay, this would be the time. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, but in item number 2, the second transportation, is that supposed to be January of 2026?
Oh. Yes.
Well done, Mayor.
Yes. I think we did the same thing on finances.
I thought we were approving a bill from last January, a little late there. So when you make your motion to approve on these 3 items, if you could note the change on the date, please.
The motion to approve consent agenda with changing the date of 2B to January 11th to the 15th, 2026.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion or questions from the directors? If not, Liz?
Belt. Flamingo.
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
And Dave.
Yes, so moving to agenda item H under new business. Item number 1 is resolution 2026-03. This is the final 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Court?
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes.
Oh, I must have not dropped the one, okay, it's just what's written, you're fine.
Then can I get
Yeah, should be able to.
Oh, yeah, all right. So I think we brought the draft of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan to you a couple of times now. Mostly want to go over kind of some of the changes since we have brought that draft to you. For the most part, everything is wrapped up, but we removed a few things that were identified as completed or soon to be completed projects. Most of the appendices have been wrapped up, so appendices A and B are basically the regional profile, kind of documenting the current state of things, whether it be land use or existing transportation network. Appendix E is actually a new appendix, which is going to house all of the performance metrics for the plan. So most of it is USDOT required measures for the region as far as safety, freight traffic, things like that, things that we will bring to you throughout the year. We added some details on coordination with resource agencies, particularly the NRD. That was just pointed out by Iowa's DOT that weren't really highlighting some of those conversations that we've had. We had a public comment period that opened at the last board meeting in August, and that ran through yesterday. We had a public meeting last week, is that right? Yeah. Last week on the 18th. And we got 6 comments from the public, at least as part of this. And we'll roll all of that into Appendix D. It sounds like we didn't get a whole lot of public input there, but if you take a look at Appendix D, once we put that out, we actually, during the last 5 years, we engaged with, I think, some 20,000 people at over 200 events. So most of the public involvement is done during the development plan. You know, it's kind of a box check to do the public comment period at the end. So we didn't hear a whole lot, but what we did hear, there's one update we've got to do in Chapter 2 based on something that they pointed out about one of our maps, but we'll get that updated. And there's a few other things that still remain, some minor updates to some of those appendices. We also just got all of the travel demand model stuff wrapped up. So Appendix C, which is the documentation for the travel demand model, that still needs to be kind of finalized and put together. All of that stuff comes from HDR, who we had helped us kind of put all that the modeling stuff together. As I mentioned, Appendix D, the public involvement appendix, we're just wrapping up, putting in all of our responses to those comments we received into there, and then that'll be done. And then there'll be the final printing of the plan, as well as we're developing a kind of a web viewer for all of the projects to make it easy for the public to go and see kind of, you know, what we're doing, what the plan is really all about. So as far as kind of like the financial implications of the plan, the plan has a fiscally constrained financial plan that's a component to it. That's listed in Appendix F that came out with the draft. Well, we have made some adjustments. Like I said, there's some projects that we pulled out, a couple other things that were identified that we put in, and that'll happen during the life of the plan, and we'll come back with amendments on that. But roughly, it represents about a $5.5 billion investment through 2050. That's about $2.5 billion in federal funding and $3.1 billion in local and state funding. There's a little bit of headroom in there for anything that we need to add over the next 5 years during the life of the plan. There's about $2 million in that. 500 million of, or I'm sorry, 2 billion in that. 500 million of that is federal aid. Will we normally see the region be a little bit more successful in discretionary grants? So that number will probably go up a little bit as we, you know, local jurisdictions apply for different projects and that sort of thing. We'll make those adjustments over the next few years. So basically where we are, this will be final approval by this body, but ultimately this will be a recommendation of, and council officials will kind of be the final approving body, and that will happen on October 8th, as mentioned in the annual dinner. And then once all of this is done, we wrap it up and send it on to the state and US DOTs. That's basically where we are. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point.
So those two number or the thing you had there with the numbers.
Yep.
Did you break down the state, like, in which states?
Yes, and so I don't have that for you in this presentation, but I can get you that table very easily. It's in the plan, broken out, basically just like this.
I would note, Supervisor, with the end of the Council Bluffs Interstate System project, the Iowa side, the state investment is much, much lower than it has been in the past because they just spent $2 billion over 20 years. Well,
They might say they're done.
they keep doing newspaper articles that they're done.
Yeah, well, in the aesthetically clean it up.
But that number is much lower because most of the Iowa DOT projects kind of going forward at this time that they've identified, and in court alluded to the fact that there are sort of projects that could later be identified, but the ones they've identified are mostly operations and maintenance type projects. And so that number, the very big change from the past where we were seeing, I mean, I don't even know, $120, $150 million worth of investment each year from Iowa DOT. That number's a lot smaller this time around.
But yeah, I'll get those, I'll pull those tables out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for court? Or any other further discussion? If not, I would take a motion to approve the plan.
So moved, Belt.
Second,
Liz?
Bell,
Aye.
Fluida.
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Clue,
yes.
and Dick.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agenda item I, under discussion, Mike, the NARC conference in February.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take 53 minutes, Patrick, just to make you sweat here.
I have about an hour stuff after you.
We'll do this. We'll do this fast. So, you know, the NARC, or the National Association of Regional Councils, is a group that MAPA's been a member of for, I mean, I think it's probably 40 years at this point. And, you know, the interesting thing about this organization is that unlike, you know, NACO or the National League of Cities, the elected leadership is one piece of it, but they also have kind of agency leadership that is sort of a co-leadership role of the organization. And a lot of what they focus on is regional collaboration, that role of local government, how you can resource and support decision-making across regions. And for a long time, MAPA's had a board representative. And so there's a board of directors. It's split up by regions. And you know, it has been Carol Vinton, who was a supervisor over in Mills County for the last 8 years. And then before that, it was Rita Sanders. And before that, it was Claire Duda. And there were other folks that had served MAPA in that capacity. And so I'm going to a meeting here in October, and there's another meeting in January where they will likely be taking board nominations to fill Carol's vacancy from the board. And if anybody from the MAPA board or from one of MAPA's jurisdictions is interested in serving in that capacity, I'd like to pass that on to them. It's not required, but it is a good opportunity if you're interested in really kind of being in a community of practice with people who aren't just kind of doing local government work, but also working at that regional level to have an impact, you know, beyond their community. I think it's a pretty good conference. Supervisor Belt has gone in the past, Mayor Kindiggs, you've gone in the past. Most of the other board members have gone at least some point. And you know, I think it's the policy conference that happens in February is always a good opportunity to hear kind of directly from the administration, directly from Congress on things that impact the work that we do. Yeah, they're there. Sometimes they aren't there. That's true. But at the back of your packet, I just gave you a few notes here on one particular issue that's important to MAPA, which is the reauthorization of the transportation bill. And so the current bill, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or the bipartisan infrastructure law, it's all the same thing, is up for reauthorization by next year. The Senate is moving, the House is moving on a lot of this. And our national associations, so that's NARC and NATO, have really, and AMPO, have all linked arms with the National League of Cities and National Association of Counties to put together what they call the LOT Coalition, the Local Officials in Transportation. They've done this in the past, but this year they are very, very, very organized. And you'll see in this packet, they're organized and they're really consistent about the way that they want to approach transportation. And I would just note that these priorities really would benefit the work that we do here at MAPA, our coordination with local partners and resourcing projects that have a federal interest, in addition to really unlocking resources from our state partners at the DOTs. And so again, this is kind of maybe a good preview of information that you'll be hearing about. If you do want to go to an NARC conference, you can come with us and not be on the board. If you come with us and you're from the region, they're going to be talking to you about going on the board. I can almost guarantee you, but
So what's the time commitment if you go on the board?
it is just this one meeting is the big thing. One meeting a year. There's 3 opportunities. So there's the policy conference in February. There's a conference of regions, I think is what they call it, in the summer. That moves around. So this past year it was in Seattle. Before that it was in, I can't remember.
Is it just a 1-year term?
I think it's a multi-year term. I think it's a 4-year term or 2 years at a minimum. And so it's just an opportunity to connect. You know, not everybody attends every meeting. The policy conference in February is the big one though. There is a board retreat as part of the executive directors conference that I'm going to here in October. So there's 3 opportunities to participate. You can always phone in as well. You don't have to travel, but that February one is where they really kind of expect more of the participation. Yeah, that's a good question though. But I do think, you know, it's a unique opportunity. Last year, the big priority was getting EDA reauthorized. Again, that's kind of one of our funding partners. That work got done through the Water Resources Development Act. And now this year, it's really looking ahead to transportation reauthorization. So if you have any questions about this, if you or your colleagues are interested in going with us, let us know. We'll be taking a travel request probably in October for that trip. We don't need to have names identified then, but we want to give people ample notice.
Okay. With that, we don't have any additional business unless there's comment from the board. We'll call this meeting adjourned.